potentially maybe going to starting to talk a little bit around the proposed MSO model versus tradition. So, John, I'll
Sure.
turn to you.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add to the comments that Larry made and Dan is really just the attraction for younger partners as well as non-partners at a law firm. And Larry alluded to this, but the PE-backed model really offers potential for multiple capital events. So over a course of someone's career, this could be attractive to younger partners who are not just concerned about, annual compensation, but also building long-term wealth that I think the PE model could potentially add to that. So, that's one other thing I would just stress. I think it's part of the retention model.
Mhm.
Um, you know, as we get to the MSO structure, when we talk about the proposed managed service organization of the MSO model versus the traditional law firm structure, we're really trying to stress here is how we reconcile private equity investment with the regulatory constraints. And there's a few considerations. And I think, as many people on this call obviously know, most law firms in most jurisdictions cannot have non-law firm owners. So what the MSO really does is it sits alongside the law firm and is owned in whole or part potentially by the private equity investor. The MSO is the vehicle that provides non-legal services such as technology, marketing, HR, finance, infrastructure. It could potentially own the name of the law firm and lease it back to the attorney firm. And the actual law firm remains lawyer owned and controlled, preserving the compliance with rules around the practice of law. So here we kind of put up a structure of what that would look like, whereby the equity partners still own the law firm, but the institutional investors, along with the law firm partners, own the MSO. And those institutional investors just don't have to be lawyers anymore. It could be a private equity company. It could also be CFOs, CEOs of the law firm that are not attorneys. So really, the core tension is the traditional law firms are built on independence, they're built on partner ownership and governance, and as well as the ethical obligations that prioritize, client interest above all. The MSO model introduces this external capital, a return on your investment, as well as operational centralization. So, I think the challenge becomes how do you introduce this institutional capital without undermining the core principles of how a law firm is built and how the legal practice has traditionally um, been built over time. So I think there's more to come here in terms of how this evolves. But right now, what we're seeing is that this MSO structure is the primary structure of how law firms are being invested by private equity.
Thanks, John. Larry, do you have any comments on this, or maybe we can get into some of the pros and
Just very
cons
quickly,
on the next slide? Mhm.
yeah, just very quickly. Uh, John's description is very clear, and he's exactly right. Even a year ago, there was a lot of discussion about how outside investment would come into the legal sector. And I think the market has essentially settled on this MSO structure. There were a couple states that created sandboxes. Arizona did it. DC has always effectively had it. But the larger firms realized that uh, taking full advantage of those structures was going to be tricky because there were other states that didn't allow it. If you practiced across state lines, that was going to be difficult. So it's the MSO structure that seems to have carried the day. There have been a number of deals in the sector. A number of law firms have taken in outside money at this point, mostly in the personal injury space. And my understanding is that they have all used some variant of the MSO structure.
One final comment from me on that MSO structure is the potential to, if you want to future-proof the law firm, in the future with tech-enabled services, that increasingly non-senior non-attorneys will become an increasingly important element of that business. And so an opportunity for non-attorneys to gain ownership in that business as well is attractive proposition to some.
No, that's a great point. That is actually a great point because we don't know exactly what the new world is going to look like. It's possible that the MSO, in addition to being essentially a captive, either a captive of the law firm or the law firm a captive of the MSO, the MSO can do other things as well. The MSO can develop technology on its own, potentially provide services to more than one law firm and potentially actually develop products that could be sold to more than one law firm. We just don't know how it will happen, but it will create a lot more flexibility, introduce a lot more flexibility into the sector in a way that could be great.